Welcome. Okay, welcome everyone. So it is 11 o'clock and I'm just gonna let people in to join us. Okay, let's see. Admit all, here we go. Okay, welcome everyone. Okay, so it's gonna work best if everyone's muted, but feel free to say hi. And then when we get started, you can mute yourself. And all right, just letting people in and then we can get started. It's so great to see everyone. And let's see. Can everyone give me a thumbs up if they can hear me all right? All right, awesome. Just gonna make sure the volume is all the way up. Here we go, I'm turning up my volume. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm just gonna give about 1 minute before we hop on. So I just want to remind everybody that I am recording today. So, because some people aren't able to make the session, so I can send them the recording. So just a heads up about that. And yeah, feel free to keep your video on or you can turn it off, whatever feels comfortable for you. Okay, welcome. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to dive right in because thank you for everyone for showing up promptly. And I promised you that it would be half an hour and I want to be respectful of your time. So some of you I know and some of you I've never met before. So I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Anastasia Hendryanto and I'm a life design coach and an Enneagram teacher. And today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about like what the Enneagram is. I am assuming that everybody's heard of the Enneagram before. Just a quick overview, and then I'm going to hop right into a little bit about my personal story, like how the Enneagram has affected my life, and then into the meat of the presentation. So sharing about any myths and misconceptions that I see happening with the Enneagram. And we're also I'm gonna give you my top 3 tips on how to figure out your Enneagram type with accuracy, and you can feel like you've really, really identify and really resonates with you. And I'm also gonna be squeezing in some practical tips on how to use your Enneagram number, depending on like the situation. Like it could be relationships, parenting, marriage, or career or work. So how can you use the Enneagram once you actually know your number? And then the next steps for how you can continue your Enneagram journey, because there's just so many layers and it's so rich and there's so much to learn and so much to try. So that's what I'm going to do my best to cover in the next 30 minutes. Okay. All right. So looks like I've admitted everybody and we're going to hop in. And if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat box and I'll do my best to like check in with the chat box and see your questions. And if I don't, my apologies, please send me an email or text me with my information at the end and I'll answer your question if I don't like happen to see it in the chat box. All right. Okay, so, I want to share my screen with you. That's pretty important. Okay, and okay, let's go. I have my slides and they're not appearing when I say share. Let's try this.
When you get the white pop-up window that when you say share screen, you get the white pop-up window. Do you see your slides in there?
No, I have it opened on Canva on my laptop. So
do you see your desktop page though?
Yeah, I do.
So click on that and then I bet you Canva's just minimized.
Okay. I'm going to give that one a try. Thanks. I'm going to share that. And I'm going to go here. And there. Okay. And then I'm going to go to present. And there. Thank you. Is that Kimberly? Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate it.
Except
okay,
we see your, I see your email.
Oh, it says you are sharing, you are screen sharing. Okay, I'm going to stop share.
So we just minimize your email.
Okay.
Yeah, so get out of Zoom, like minimize Zoom so you don't see us, and then minimize everything else and open up Canva.
Okay, I'll minimize you guys. And okay. Close that. Okay, and I'm going to close my email. Okay.
Not to worry, this happens all the time.
Okay, I'm going back to Zoom.
Yeah, go back to Zoom and then share screen. And then your pop-up, you should see Canva in one of the squares.
I do. There it is.
Yay!
Okay, share. Okay, and I'm going to go present. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. There, can everyone now see my slides? Awesome, okay. Phew. Okay, so now it's on the wrong slide, so I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Okay. Okay, there we go. Phew, starting to sweat. Thank you for bearing with me. This is my first solo webinar. I'm used to doing it with a team, so here we go. Okay, so, all right, so I've given you an overview of what we're talking about today. And all right, so I said, what is the Enneagram? So just a quick overview. So it's a personality framework, and it's 9 different ways of, or 9 different maps of the way we see the world. So we look at 3 parts, so being, thinking, and doing. And as you can see, the Enneagram circle represents, well, the circle represents wholeness. So it means that we have everything that we need, and that we're whole and complete. And all the 9 numbers are connected by a line. And those lines show that we have 9 resources. So we can access any of the 9 types at any time. The theory is, though, that we have one dominant type. And we still have access to the others, but we tend to lead with just one type. And yeah, so those are the 9 types of the Enneagram. So if you want any more information, I have like the 9 types described on my website on the resources page at ahealthyjourney.ca, but I'm not going to go into the different 9 types today. That's not what we're talking about. Okay, so I just want to give you a little like snapshot onto how the Enneagram has changed my life. So I've always, been interested in personality quizzes and tests, like everything from Myers-Briggs to colors. And I've always been on the quest kind of to understand myself better. And I stumbled upon the Enneagram somehow, and I just thought it was just, another personality quiz. And then a friend of mine invited me to an in-person workshop. So I invited my husband, and we went together to this like 3-hour in-person workshop. And this is where like my mind blew open. I learned so much by listening to other people's stories, like people sharing their things that happened to them in the past, and how when they enter a room, what do they notice first? And people shared about their motivation, like why they do what they do. And that's just really what hooked me, was really understanding why people do what they do, and all the 9 different perspectives. And when I went home, like the great thing about attending it with my partner, my husband, I had way more compassion for when I could see him struggling. So if there's any like friction points in our marriage, like say we're trying to make a decision on where to go for vacation or where to go out for dinner, just simple things like that. I was expecting him to answer really quickly and be able to, like, make big decisions quickly and feel confident about it. And after learning about our Enneagram types and how they relate to each other, I could see that with his type, he needed more time to think about the options, and that if I asked him, that I couldn't expect an answer right away, or actually he would give me an answer, but he would give me the answer he thought I would like to hear. So he wasn't really being honest. So learning about the Enneagram really opened my eyes to how we communicate, and especially like in my marriage, I'm way more aware of the pace of our conversations and the questions that I need to ask if I want to get like an honest answer. So it brought more ease to our marriage. I mean, it's not perfect. We still have arguments. It's not like a miracle or a magic bullet, but that's just one example of how the Enneagram has really impacted my life. And and the other piece was seeing everyone else's perspective, that you don't really know what people are thinking. And when you study the Enneagram, it's like getting a glimpse inside someone's head about why they do what they do. And then it also gives you a glimpse into your own head and why we get stuck sometimes, or the patterns that we have. And the idea is, once you understand this, you can offer yourself compassion, like we're all human, and you can also offer your fellow humans compassion as well, that we're all doing the best we can with like what we have and where we are and the past experiences that have shaped us. Okay, so that's just a little snippet of my story. Okay, so on to myths and misconceptions. Okay, so the Enneagram is really popular right now, and you'll see like lots of things on Instagram, lots of fun memes and t-shirts and coffee mugs, but I just want to clear a few things up. So number one, you are not your number. Like I see a lot of people saying, I am a 2 or I am a 9. Well, the number represents your personality, and you are not your personality. Your personality is just something you developed to navigate life, and whatever challenges have been thrown your way, you have to respond and figure out, how can I fit in? How can I belong? How can I make this work? And depending on what kind of, how you've adapted, that's how your personality has been created. You are born with a few tendencies, but it's still shaped by your experiences, and it's shaped very young. So yeah, you're not your number. So I like to say I identify with a number 4, or I lead with a number 4. And okay, the second myth I see is people trying that you can type someone else. So no one else can tell you your Enneagram type. It's because the Enneagram is based on your motivation. So why you do what you do. So nobody will know why you do what you do except for yourself, unless you stop and share that. So be careful if someone says that, oh, I really think you're a 3. I know it's fun to play around, but just keep that in mind, that you don't really, once you learn this, you can get excited and you'll want to go around like typing people. Try to keep those thoughts to yourself, and you can have discussion, and also be careful if anyone's trying to just tell you your type. The third is the Enneagram is a manipulation tool. So I've met some people that were worried that they didn't want anyone to know their Enneagram number because they could use that information against them, that they would know the right thing to say, like to persuade them or convince them, which if the idea is the Enneagram is to do, information is to do good, right? It's so that we can have a better understanding of each other. It doesn't mean that we can manipulate people. So you need to be mindful of how you're using your words. And the great thing, though, is that when you understand what motivates someone and you would like them to hear your message, or you'd like to be able to help them, you can think about how you're going to phrase something so that they're able to hear it, that you're using words that they resonate with, or that don't, or that doesn't offend them or make them defensive. Okay, so next, some of the Enneagram numbers are better than the others. Well, that's a myth. All 9 numbers are equal. No number is better than another. When you read through the 9 types, you might see some that you think, oh, I would love to be this number. And I mean, that's normal. Like, certain numbers may seem attractive to you, but you also want to be aware that often the numbers you think you would like to be are not necessarily going to be the number that you land on in the end. So just keep that in mind. And all numbers are needed. Like, all 9 numbers have strengths. And when you're putting together a team, or if you're part of a family or project, you want to have all 9 perspectives, if possible, because everybody brings something important to the table. And when we don't have all 9 types represented, then often something is missing. So all 9 types are equal. Okay, and the last one. I hear some people say, well, I used to be a 2, but now I'm pretty sure I'm a 7. Well, you can't change your number. Your number is fixed. You may decide that you mistyped yourself. So you may have believed you were a certain number when you started your Enneagram journey, and then after doing some reading and attending workshops, you may discover that maybe that number isn't a good fit, and you change your mind. That's perfectly normal, and a lot of people, including myself, mistype themselves at the beginning. So don't be concerned if you need to change your number. It doesn't mean you did it wrong. It's just part of your journey. And yeah, and if you hear someone saying that they used to be a certain number, but they changed, then they might be missing like a big piece of like how the Enneagram works and how it's put together. So yeah, we can't change numbers. And another thing I didn't mention is we don't really want to type children. So the idea is you're shaped by things that happen to you, and your personality develops. So there's a danger in trying to type children because they just haven't fully formed their personality yet. You'll see glimpses of it. So you can still like observe and note things, but I wouldn't be telling a child that, oh, you're being such a 2 right now, or even an adult. You don't want to use the Enneagram to pigeonhole someone, like put them in a box, or to stereotype them. That's another one I should have put on my list for myths. It's not for stereotyping, and it's not for making excuses either. We're all here, we're all human, and we're all on our own personal growth journey at different paces. Okay, so wow, the time is flying by. Okay, so I wanted to give you my best tips on how to figure out your type, or how to like verify your type. So number 1, focus on what motivates your behavior. It's why you do what you do. So I already mentioned this one, so I'm not going to spend too much time. But take some time to reflect. Grab your journal, ask yourself some questions. There's no rush to figure out your type, but don't just look at behavior, because sometimes 2 types may look like they're behaving the same way. Like maybe you see 2 people being competitive, for example, but they may have a different reason for being competitive. One person might do it because they want to get it right and not make a mistake, and the other person might just want to beat the other person, and they really want to be recognized for being the best. So there's, again, different motivations. Tip number 2, notice any gut reactions you get when you read through the 9 types as you're doing your Enneagram study. Notice any like ideas that pop into your head, like judgments. So something like, oh, it would be so awful to be a blank. Like, it'd be so awful to be a 2. They can be so overbearing. I'm definitely not a 2. Often when we finally discover our Enneagram type, it has a shadow side that you might not think is attractive, and you might be repelled by it. So note that, because often that's a big clue that you might have landed on your Enneagram number. If you feel any kind of reaction, and it could be in your body or just a thought that you have or a feeling that comes over you. So don't be afraid. Note any judgments that you receive about numbers. Try to keep an open mind. And tip number 3, don't rely on tests or assessments. They're great, but they're only one source of information. So I encourage you to read books like by different authors, ideally attend a live workshop or a webinar. It's great to hear other people's perspectives, and you can really sometimes hear your own story within someone else's. And you can also do a typing interview with an Enneagram teacher, and that you're able to really hone in on why you do what you do. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's jump ahead. And now you know your Enneagram type. Now what? So let's talk practical uses for the Enneagram. Okay, so how can you use your Enneagram to deal with frustration and overwhelm? So I have a question for you. So I want you to think about patterns you notice about yourself. And these patterns specifically are keeping you from maybe going after what you want or having the relationships you would like. Notice it. What's stopping you? Like, what kind of feeling comes up? Is it maybe you're feeling stuck or fearful, maybe angry or sad? How are you getting in your own way? How could you choose, or is there a different path you could choose? Maybe there's a solution or a possibility that's hidden from you. So when you know your Enneagram type, you can look at your strengths and your tendencies and where your focus goes. And you're going to suddenly see, like, why am I frustrated right now? And take a look and see what's behind that frustration. Is it because one of your needs isn't being met? So you can look at the core needs of your type. So for example, type 2, maybe your core need is to be needed. And if someone's not asking you for help, you might be feeling sad and left out. Okay, so that's just an example. And then next, how can you use your Enneagram type to strengthen your relationships? So could we be a better listener? So once you become aware of all 9 types, it really helps you understand yourself and other people better. So that's just going to improve your communication with your relationships. And once we understand each other, and then we have access to compassion. So you can think about maybe a partnership you're in or a relationship you have. And if you really know your partner's core desires or your friend's core desires, you're going to be able to support them and encourage them to go after what really makes them happy or what's going to bring them contentment and satisfaction. So you can look at how you communicate with your friends and partners. What could you say so they could actually hear what you're trying to say? And then also you can use your Enneagram type to be a more conscious parent. So parenting essentially is just a different type of relationship. If you can understand your strengths, like your Enneagram type strengths, you can really lean into them when you're parenting. So maybe, for example, you're a type 4 and you really enjoy being creative. So maybe you're the parent that loves to pull out the craft supplies and the art supplies and do creative things with your kids or make up stories and use your imagination. So that's great. And then you can also look at maybe some of your struggles or your shadow side. So for example, with a 4, maybe you are very sensitive. So you can also be mindful when you're parenting that maybe your child says something to you and you feel hurt. Your child just might be expressing themselves, and it's maybe just your type showing up that you're sensitive if someone criticizes you or says something negative, and it just means that it could just mean your child is expressing themselves. It doesn't necessarily mean anything about you. So knowing your Enneagram type, you become aware of sometimes like your hot buttons and your shadow side. And you can keep you focused on moving forward instead of like dwelling on what's bothering you. Okay, and also you can use your Enneagram type to create more fulfilling career or business. So I meant to look up the stat, but I didn't quite get the number, but there's a horrible stat that something like 70% of adults are in jobs that they don't like or aren't fulfilling. So, I mean, I'd love to see us change that. I think we should have fulfilling work. It's really important to contribute and feel good about yourself and what you're doing and contributing to the world. So imagine if you designed your career or your job around your strengths and your gifts. So knowing your Enneagram type, you're going to understand what your gifts are and what those strengths are. And then you can either tweak your job to be a better fit, or maybe you can pivot and change your career. Or if you have the entrepreneurial spirit, you can start your own business and make sure that it's something that reflects your talents and your gifts. And you're going to feel so much more ease, joy, and freedom when you can match it to your personality. Okay. All right. Wow, the time has flown by. I'm just going to check and see if there's any. Okay, so I'm almost done with the presentation because I said I wanted to keep it to half an hour. So I just want to congratulate you on taking the time to show up for this webinar, or if you're listening to the recording. It just shows me that you're investing in your personal growth and you're committed to learning more about yourself and the people that are important to you in your life, your family, your friends, your colleagues. And you're doing your work because you've got big dreams and big goals. You're the type of person who wants more. And you want more for yourself. And this isn't selfish. I'm not talking about like more stuff, because as many of you know, I'm into simplicity and keeping things simple. So what I'm talking about more ease, joy, freedom, compassion within your home and like with your career and your work. So before I go, I have one question for you. How would you like to see the rest of your year go? So now that you know your Enneagram type, and I've given you a few ideas of how to use that information for like relationships, for your career, for your marriage, or for any relationships that you're in, what do you see opening up for yourself? I would love to know what you're dreaming about and what your goals are for the rest of the year. And because one of my passions is to help people feel excited about their future and empowered to take the next steps. So I'd love to chat with you with what can we do to make maybe something that looks impossible become possible for you. So feel free to text me. My number is on the screen there, and you can book a clarity call with me. So these are free calls, and I just want to create a safe space for you to share your dreams and goals and hear what you're up to and talk about the next steps for you to move forward. And if you have some Enneagram questions and how to use your Enneagram to take the next step or to create the future that would be a better fit for yourself, to let go of those shoulds and go after what feels true to you. Okay, so I've got a few spots open, and let me know. I'm moving next week, so I think I can fit you in. We'll figure it out. Okay, so I think I saw a question. Let's see, participants, share, pause. Okay, I'm gonna close this and come back to Zoom. And we're going to stop sharing screen. I'm still sharing my screen.
Do you have all of us at the top of your screen?
No, I still have my, oh, here you are.
Yeah, we're kind of underneath it where you can stop share.
Okay, I can see you guys now. And okay, I got you in grid view. And then I'm just going to close my presentation, and then maybe that will help.
You're still sharing screen.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you have to hit the red button that says stop share.
Oh, there it is. Yay! Thank you. Okay, I swear my brain turns off when I start to panic. So let's just take a deep breath.
That's always the way. You're doing fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no worries. So we're with you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Okay, so I see now, I can see the chat box on the bottom. Okay, all right, Wendy has to run off, no problem. Okay, so if you feel free, do you have any questions for me? You can unmute yourself. We'd have, I think, about 5 minutes left. Like, I want to respect your time, so that was about half an hour, but I can stick around for, you know, another 5 minutes if anyone has any questions. I know that was quick. I was trying to fit probably maybe too much in, but I wanted to make sure you got lots of value. So I appreciate your time. I know how valuable your time is. We're all very busy, and we have to make a choice on how we spend our time. Okay. Well, if there's no questions, I invite you to connect with me. I'm over on Instagram at Anastasia Hendryanto, and I share lots of Enneagram tips there. And I'm also on Facebook, or you can just send me an email. And I also send out a weekly newsletter where I usually share, you know, tips on the Enneagram, or what I'm working on, and how we can use the Enneagram for personal growth. Because that's my biggest passion is, okay, great, we know our Enneagram number, now what? Like, let's use that information to, you know, benefit your family, benefit your community, and also just for you to, you know, experience more ease, joy, and freedom, so that your life feels like a better fit, and you can have those great, you know, deep conversations with your people, and just, you know, support each other and go after like what you really want. Like, now is the time. We don't need to wait. We can just go for it. Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you soon. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks so much, Anastasia. Anastasia, that was wonderful.
Thanks, Kim. Bye, Wendy. Bye, Mona. Bye, Madison.